Good afternoon, evening, morning, night, whatever time you're listening to Disney with the Ducks. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Disney with the Ducks. You got me, Mean Gene, my friend Jody B.
Hi, friends.
Lonnie G's Mad Dash to the Parks.
Hey, everybody.
And Kevin.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, everybody. So glad we're all together today. We're missing a couple of people, but that's okay. I think they're out having some fun on their own, but we're going to have fun too today. This is episode 126. Before we go any further, I just want to remind you, we'd love to hear your thoughts about the show. Go to your favorite podcatcher of choice, wherever you download it or listen to this, and leave us a review. Leave us a 5-star review. That's the ones we like. If you have any, do you have any constructive feedback? In a positive way, Jody'd love to hear that. If you have anything negative to say, it's probably directed at Lonnie anyway, so you can go ahead and direct it at him. Mm-hmm. So we'd appreciate that very much. But again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Tonight's episode is Rope Drop. This is the way. And before we get into that, you all know that I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating and gets everywhere. Not like here at my house, but we're going to talk about sand and the beach. And maybe for our opening question, what is our favorite thing to do at the beach? Anybody want to go ahead and start us out?
Well, Kevin, you were just there, so why don't you talk about it?
Okay, so I just got back from the beach, and probably I'm going to go ahead and cheat early on this time and say my favorite thing to do is to watch my kids play and kind of exploring and that kind of thing. But at the same time, looking for some cool shells and looking at the different kind of things that were created in nature and just to observe that and appreciate that. And there's so many beautiful things that you can find just walking up and down the beach, just digging in the sand a little bit, and pretty interesting to see just kind of how different things were created and appreciate them. So,
yeah, that's good. I like that, Kevin. Anybody else?
I like to take walks on the beach. I don't know that anyone in my family likes it as much as I do, so sometimes I get to spend some time by myself, which is not a bad thing either. But I love taking long walks on the beach. My parents, when we were little, we'd always go to Hilton Head, and they would always leave us for a while, accompanied by someone else, and they'd go take long walks on the beach. And I think it was just something that I thought that's what adults do when you adult on the beach, is you go take long walks. So it's something I still like to do. I have to say Shark Week is either happening or just happened or something like that. So I don't think I can be in the water right now. It's kind of Tim had a little bit of those Shark Week episodes on, and I think I'm perfectly fine staying on the sand at this point in time. So,
well, the Gulf is in the 80s. The water temperature is in the 80s. It feels like bathtub water. It's just, it's hard to believe how warm it can get. So, yeah, I mean, we didn't see any sharks, but I'm sure they were there. They could see us. We couldn't see them.
Mm-hmm.
They were always watching.
Always watching.
Always watching.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even blink.
Mm-mm.
Never.
And they don't close their eyes when they sleep.
Exactly. They never sleep.
So you don't even know. You don't know if they're up or not. You just up there, and it's kind of like,
Mm-hmm. Lonnie, what about you?
No, it's funny Jody mentioned that, because my favorite thing to do on the beach is to yell shark. So it's funny she mentions that. It's funny. At any other beach, that's what I like to do. If I'm at Castaway Cay, Jody knows what I like to do is sit in those chairs under the umbrella and wait for the guy to come through and ask, what would I like to drink? That is my favorite thing to do at Castaway Cay. It's always beautiful. It's always sunny there. Never rains at Castaway Cay. So yeah, that's what I like to do. Any other beach, yell shark. At Disney, I'm going to relax in those chairs and have a good time.
I like it. Yeah, thanks for sharing, everybody. I love the beach. My family loves the beach. I usually go to the Destin area, where if you're listening to this in the year of our Lord 2024, there have been some shark attacks, and that's a little crazy. And I already have kind of an irrational fear of sharks. I think maybe it's rational. I don't know. But
I grew up in the 80s.
Yeah, right.
That's what happens.
You know what? I'm sorry, guys, because I really believe I have to get on a little bit of tangent, because I really believe sharks get a bad rap. Because let's think about it. Is it a shark attack or is it self-defense? Hear me out. This is my philosophy on it. If I'm sitting in my living room and a guy walks in and strolls past the TV, I'm going to defend myself, right? Sharks are at their home because that's their house, right? And somebody just comes swimming
Well, even
by
worse. Even
and
worse
walking
than that,
by.
Lonnie. What if somebody breaks in your house and they walk across the room and they look like a delicious piece of pizza? I mean,
Exactly. Or a cronut. Look, I'm like,
or a
"Who's
cronut. Yeah, exactly.
cronut
Or
floating
fish
on
and
by?"
chips.
Fish and
And
chips.
you know I love fish
like
and
on a
chips.
platter, just kind of floating by.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'm like, so literally, man, the sharks are just like, man, I was at my house. And if you interview the shark, let's say you interview Jabba Joe, right? And he's like, what happened? He said, man, it's the craziest thing. I was sitting on my sofa, minding my business. Here comes this delicious fish and chips stroll across the screen. And I'm like, first off, I was scared because I didn't know, who's this person? I don't know him. So I went up to talk to him. They started screaming. I thought they were attacking me, so I bit them. It's just, it's the craziest thing.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
I got time for that. You're right. So that's my philosophy on shark attacks.
Okay.
It's actually self-defense.
Okay. Hey, thanks for commandeering, my portion of this, but hey, that's fine.
It's what I do, man.
My family likes to, swim out. I go a certain, I have good intentions. I feel like I'm going to go out with, everybody to a certain depth. It's funny. I don't worry about my kids being eaten by sharks, but I get to a certain depth, like past my waist, and I can't function. Like I'm being very, very vulnerable admitting this at this point. So my favorite thing is not, I like the water, but if there's a shadow, if there's anybody splashes next to me, I'm jumping. It's not good. But what I really do enjoy is sitting on a lounge chair, or whatever, reading a book, drinking a bottle of water with a Hawaiian punch, dissolved in it or something, and I really dig that. And we move so fast in our lives that I like to just kind of sit on the beach and do nothing, maybe get up every once in a while and jump in, or play some can jam or maybe some cornhole or, walk up and down the beach with my wife and our kids. But I just like to chill out and just read, maybe look up and people watch a little bit or whatever, but it's fun to me. That's
Can jam's fun.
Mm-hmm.
I played can jam the first time last summer. I really like it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm. So thanks everybody for sharing. Now we know what we like to do at the beach. Let's jump into rope drop. To start it off though, you all know I'm a Disney expert. And so I don't really need anybody to explain to me what rope drop is, but just Jody, if you could level set for our viewers / listeners, could you just tell us what that term rope drop, what it means, when you talk about it, what are you referring to when you say that?
Well, I think it means arrive really, really early and then go to the correct ride first. But it actually, the term comes from when you would arrive early to one of the parks, they used to actually have a physical rope. And you would stand at the rope, and when the parks opened, they would drop the rope, and you would walk at a brisk pace to your first attraction. Or back in the day, you would walk at a brisk pace to the paper fast pass line. I mean, that's really old school. So that is what rope drop is. It's arriving before the huge, gigantic mass crowds of people and trying to get through a ride or two early in the morning.
Jody, kudos to you for level setting what rope drop is and being very liberal with the term brisk walk, because I've seen this 40-yard sprint
with a stroller.
Yeah, man, it's an Olympic event. But it's funny that you mentioned getting to the park real early, because you talk to some people and say I'm rope dropping, and say the park opens at 8:30 and they're on the bus at 8:30 and think that's rope drop. That's not rope dropping, right? So if it's literally the bus that opens at 8:30, you're at the 7:30 bus. To me, that's the rope drop, right? And you're at the park before even 8:00 to be ready for that. So kudos to you for that and being very nice when you say brisk walk.
So, just a curiosity out of the four of us, who has rope dropped any of the parks ever on any of your trips? So, Kevin, you have, Lonnie, you have, I have. Jean, have you rope dropped?
Really, what do you think?
I mean,
What did you think the answer to that question would be?
well, I mean,
I think the answer is you have, because I made you rope drop, but you don't even know you were rope dropping. So my answer would be yes, you have. You probably don't remember, but you have, and you've done it at a race because it's easy to rope drop after the 5K.
Oh, see,
That's a
okay,
good point.
so yes, but I was thinking in terms of I forget that we've gotten finished before parks.
Yeah, that's a good point with the 5K because you basically you don't even go back and shower. You just take an Uber straight to the park
After breakfast.
from the finish line.
Breakfast.
No breakfast.
Before breakfast.
No breakfast. You're going straight there.
Straight there.
So,
yeah. So one of the
sure, I've rope dropped.
You have. I think you have. One of the big advantages of rope dropping that I think that we can all agree on is beating the crowds. Well, and let me put a little asterisk next to that. You are still going to be amongst the people. You are going to be in a very large crowd. However, that large crowd is going to be much smaller than the crowds later in the parks. So even though you feel like you're packed in like sardines and with all of humanity, it's actually a pretty small percentage of those people who rope drop. Because what's the one thing you have to do if you rope drop? Do you get to sleep in?
Nope.
No, you do not. So
and Disney World is exhausting. So
it is the opposite of what you were just talking about, relaxing at the beach, Jean.
Yeah.
So by that, just by the nature of that, you're going to beat a lot of people with kids who have to get them ready, right? And
That's
sometimes that take long,
or people with spouses that like to sleep late.
Spouses like to sleep late, and people with teenagers, because teenagers never like to get up early.
That's
So
right.
you eliminate a percentage of those, unless they're teenagers like us grew up on Disney that you like, I got to get there. But for the most part, they're like, no, I don't want to go and wake up that early to get there. So yeah, that's a good point, Jody. It is only a fraction of the people. And most people don't know about rope drop. So if the park opens at 9, they're going to show up at 9 and thinking they're rope dropping. And a lot of times they'll let you in earlier than, park open.
That's true.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to bring up too. Another qualifier, I guess, to what we're talking about is in some cases you have to kind of plan ahead if you're going to rope drop to know which parks may have early hours if you're not staying inside the bubble at a Disney resort. So that's another important thing to know, because you may think you're rope dropping, but there are people who stayed in one of the resorts that have an earlier rope drop than what the normal rope drop is.
Yeah. So just to clarify what Kevin's saying there, if you're staying at one of the Disney World resorts, you have a 30-minute early entrance to the parks. And it used to be assigned a park each, like Mondays was Magic Kingdom and Tuesdays was Epcot. Now it's all 4 parks every single day.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Resort guests get a half an hour early entry. So that's huge. So I think it's a major benefit of staying on property, because now if you get there early and then you have that extra half an hour early, again, and I've heard this expression from our friend Mike Rollman over on the Be Our Guest podcast. He likes to say you're getting there before the wave. Right. You're coming in before the wave comes crashing to shore. You're building up that momentum, but you're not there with all the huge wave of people. So you're getting there and you're beating everyone to the park. And that's a good thing. So we're definitely team rope drop.
And another good thing, Jody, if you did the 5K, you already warmed up. So
exactly.
You're stretched, right? So you're quicker on your feet to get there anyway, right? So some people who just whirled out of bed and got dressed and parked, you'll put a hammy, but not you. You're ready.
Yeah. So again, one of the benefits about rope dropping is you get to beat the crowds, but one of the negative things is that you have to be willing to get up early. And by early, I think Lonnie alluded to it. You said if the park's open at 8:30, what time would you be on the bus?
I'll be on the bus around 7:30. That's a good time to be on there. No later than 7:45. Catch that first bus. Kevin hit the nail on the head. you make sure when you get to the park, when you get to your hotel room, you check those hours, right? Check the TV screens, the interactive. You know when the time the park opens. It'll usually mention about the early entry, and you add 30 minutes before that early entry. So if the early entry is 8:30, you shoot to be at the park no later than 8. That's how I approach it. I try for 7:45 because you want to be on that first bus. Because if you're at a resort that's a huge resort like a Pop or something like that, there's gonna be a lot of people at that line. On the bus only holds so many, right? So you want to make sure you're there, catch that first bus if possible.
So plan your transportation, as Lonnie basically is what Lonnie's saying, is know how you're going to get there and when. And sometimes it may be an Uber if the buses aren't arriving like what your target time is.
And that happened to us when we were oddly enough, at the flagship resort. We were at Grand Flow on our last trip, and the bus was just never coming. It was never showing up, never showing up, never showing up. And so we bailed. I don't know if we got in a car or we got an Uber. I can't remember which we did that day. But, if you're trying to beat that wave and you're waiting for that bus and it's just not arriving, you got to make a choice, because every, time is money at Disney World. That's for certain.
Yeah. And another good point is, Jody and Kevin, you said when you plan your time, right, or plan your transportation, some people may ask, what are additional benefits? What am I getting by rope dropping? I could just wait and go and be there longer. But you actually can get there and do some of the e-ticket attractions, several of them, before somebody gets in there, right? So think about if you do it and you're able to ride 3 of the rides that you absolutely wanted to ride, right? Based on the park you were visiting. And then here comes the wave. Right. So look, you already got those 3 things knocked out. And usually if you rope drop and play it right, you can do 3 things before the park actually opens, right? So literally you're doing that and you're that much ahead of everybody else that's getting in. And then the best thing about it is, since you already conquered those things, when in being in Florida, it turns into the surface of the sun, you can actually go back and take a nap, relax, do some things at the pool and all those things, because you've done the things that you wanted to do. So that's a great benefit to rope dropping to me.
Yeah, right. I had that down too. As it's cooler in the morning. So, well, not always. I mean, let's just face it. In August, September, stuff, it's just going to be hot. But it's going to be a little cooler in the morning, and then in the afternoon, when it is unbearably hot and you're tired, then you're really going to want a nap. So, because you got up early and rope dropped, now you get to spend your afternoon relaxing.
Yeah. I mean, look, you in August in Florida. I mean, you're on the line at the bus, and the devil's behind you. He's like, "Where you going?" He's like, "It's going to the same park you're going to." Yeah, I'm gonna heat it up. Like, I gotta get there before you really get going. But there you go, man. That sun comes out is like a Disney movie like Blade, right? I mean, you start bursting flames. I mean, it is a Disney movie. But I'm just saying, you're bursting the flames, that sun come out. So get it early before it really gets hot.
So just to, before we start talking about each park, how we would tackle it, I just want to kind of paint a picture for those of you who have not rope dropped before. It's not like you're walking down Main Street USA and you're the only person there. There are a lot of people who are joining you for rope drop. And then what the cast members do is they check your magic band or your pass holder, pass or whatever you may have, to see if you're a resort guest. And if you're a resort guest, they let you in the next holding area. And you're kind of sitting there in the holding area. So some people say, well, really, are you saving time if you're waking up early and then going into these different holding tanks until they actually let you go in? And my answer to that is, not only are you saving time, but you're also saving money, which is one of my strategies that I like, because I like to do the what used to be called individual lightning lanes or individual Genie Plus things, and now are called single ticket attraction. I don't know. They're the ones that are not part of the item formerly known as Genie Plus that are now part of Lightning Lane. They're the ones that you have to pay separately to ride. Yeah. And so I like to head to those and get those done right away, because I don't want to spend any more money. If I'm already spending money on the item formerly known as Genie Plus and now is called Lightning Lane Plus or whatever they've named it,
Lightning
I
lane parks.
don't want to also spend money on those individual ride events too. So
Yeah.
I think you can save money. Yeah, you're waiting in line, and yeah, you may be, you're waking up early, you're getting on the bus early, you're sitting in the holding tanks early, you're waiting for them to let you to get into that line. But if it also is saving you money because you don't have to buy that later, that helps too.
Great point. And let me just say this, and this is another tip: don't rope drop and then rope drop Starbucks in the park. I mean, you're actually negating the benefit that you got from going there. Don't be the man saying, "Hey, I got to go and get me a iced latte." No, you need to get to that first ride. The one that's absolutely, and to Jody's point, and we're gonna talk about different parks. So to each his own. But there's the list of rides you want to get on, and let's be honest, if it's Rise of Resistance, you only got about 2 rides before it goes down. So you might
Exactly.
as well before it starts
Yeah.
having some issues. I'm sorry, Disney. I love the ride. If you're listening,
That, Ratatouille, or Mickey's Runaway Train. You know what I mean?
those 3 will go down.
They're
So
going
be on
down.
the first ones before
Mhm.
somebody, hits the wrong button, or animatronic slaps another one and it starts an animatronic fight. Do it those, So, but yeah, so don't rope drop a snack stand. Please
So
don't.
can I give you my trick around beating Starbucks?
Yes, please.
Okay. So I'm fine with just a cup of coffee. I don't need schmanciness, but I am married to a person and I have a teenage daughter who like the schmancy coffees. So what I have been encouraging them to do is on our way out of the park the night before, get their specialty coffee. And most of the time they like an iced coffee. So I tell them to get it without the ice, and then they have it ready the next morning. So they put it in the fridge the night before. They just add a little bit of ice to it, and we walk out the door, and it's, it's
Good idea.
12 hours old. But if you're having an iced latte or whatever, it still tastes pretty much the same. So
look, that's awesome, because if it's a peanut butter
That's a good
cold
idea.
brew from Gideon's,
There you go.
It gets better actually as it sits in the fridge. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I agree. So that's one of our family tricks is for my snobby fancy coffee lovers, I tell them to get it like before we leave Hollywood Studios, stop off and get your coffee for the next morning and just go ahead and put it in the refrigerator and pour some ice over it. And it's just like, you're ready then.
Let me ask you, do you tell them make it without ice when they're actually making it? Which is perfect because you're getting actually more coffee.
You do get more, yeah.
So you get an extra large for the price of a large. Jody B, great tip.
That's a great tip. So speaking of drink.
I apologize.
No, speaking of drink, I mean, that's a great idea. And I think that's a very good tip. But I would also add, don't go rope dropping without having any fuel in the tank. Make sure you've had something to eat. Because if you go commando, as Jeff would say, right off the bat, you're going to get burned out really fast. Mm-hmm. So make sure you're hydrated. Make sure you have some kind of snack with you because you're going to be on the move. And you're not going to have time to stop and really do that. So make sure you have something with you that you can eat that'll keep your blood sugar up and your energy going so you don't crash.
And that's one of the reasons we get groceries in the room, because this has been a major problem of mine, is if you're trying to rope drop, a lot of time the resort breakfast locations do not open until 7:00. Yeah. Well, that's a problem if you're trying to get on the bus by 7:15 or 7:30, if they're not opening till 7 and everybody's trying to mobile order at that time. So that's why we oftentimes get, cereal, milk, yogurt, stuff like that, and just eat in our room. And then if somebody needs an egg sandwich or something later, an hour after the park's open, that's fine. But that's been really tricky to navigate. How do you feed humans if the resort quick service isn't open yet by the time you need to walk out the door? So we've just typically just grab something easy in the room, and then I'm the queen of granola bars, passing out granola bars to people left and right. Keep them a little happy until we can get something a little more solid.
Yeah, and also popcorn. It get some popcorn the night before. I've eaten it in the morning. I've had it, and it's good. Just saying.
All right. Any other pros or cons about rope dropping before we get into? One of the things I will say, rope dropping isn't always perfect. Okay. So sometimes, Jean, you may rope drop. What's your favorite ride at Hollywood Studios that likes to go down a lot?
I mean, Rise is Rise
Right.
of Resistance, right?
So let's say you're rope dropping rides at Hollywood Studios and you're all excited and this has been your strategy and that's your plan and you go there and then the ride breaks down. Or they have what they call a delayed start or a delayed opening. And then you have to sit there and think, okay, am I going to stay in this line or I'm going to risk it and get out of this line and go someplace else? So that is one thing that you do have to, it happens a lot that they do have what they call delayed opening on some rides. Test Track is notorious for it. I know Rise, it happens quite a bit. So, sometimes you've got the best intentions and you just have to roll with it, right? Like you got everybody up early, you all went to the holding tank, you walked briskly to the ride, you're eating your granola bars and your coffee from the night before, and then the ride's not happening. So, sometimes even with the best plans, it doesn't always work.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So pack your patience. It's funny, when you go on Disney cruises, my daughter is notorious for rope dropping the day of the cruise, right? Because the bus is coming, you know what time they're coming, but she will run to the park and she will do a couple of things and be back. We pack her up and we'll have all her stuff ready, and she'll show up right when the bus is pulling up and she'll hop on it. She's like, yeah, I wrote this and that. And I remember I'll be looking and I'll see, in my Disney experience, a picture, and my wife's like, where's Caitlin? I'm like, well, I'm looking at her. She's in, Rock and Roller Coaster. I just saw a picture. I mean, literally. And she's like, what? I'm like, she left out here like 6 a.m. So yeah, it's rope dropping is fun. But Jody, you made some good points. Why don't you transition over to the parks now? Like, what's your pick, I should say? So let's go to the 4 parks and tell me what ride you would rope drop from the 4 parks and why.
All right. Well, do we want to do one park at a time? We all give our answer for the same park?
Yeah.
Okay.
One park at a time.
Gene, we'll start with you. We'll start with your favorite park. We'll start with Hollywood Studios.
Okay.
So your park opens at say 8:30. You're on the bus by 7:15.
Yep.
You're good like that. You're at the park. You're one of the first people in line. You tapped in. You're ready to go. Where are you going if you're going to Hollywood Studios?
I'm going to Rise for sure. And then Smuggler's Run right there. So I'm going to try to knock those out. If perchance it probably would be a delayed entry for Rise, I would roll on and do something else. But that's where I would head.
All right. Lonnie G, where are you going in Hollywood Studios?
So I think I'm on the record by saying Hollywood Studios is the one park that I always get Lightning Lane Plus or the old Genie Plus. So if you have Lightning Lane Plus now, that changes the way at least I approach rope drop, right? So at Springtime Surprise, Sarah and I actually rope dropped Hollywood Studios, and we were able to be in the first group. It had a little delayed opening, but we were in the first group for Rise of Resistance, right? And that queue is big, so it sucks up a lot of people. So when you first get there, there's a long line, but really we were in the first, probably the second group that goes in. But yet still, I got a Lightning Lane because I wanted to ride it twice. And then we rode Smuggler's Run, and then we rode Star Tours. All of that before 10 o'clock, right? Nice. So we knocked out everything. And we were the pilots in Smuggler's Run, right? So it was really awesome. So with the individual Lightning Lane now, I'm going to approach Rise first as well. And if Rise does have a delayed opening, I'm going to transition and go to Slinky Dog, because usually that one kind of fills up pretty fast as well. So that's my choices for Hollywood Studios.
Especially now, since they've gone to back to the old tier systems, where some rides are in tier 1 category and some rides are in tier 2 category. And you can only book one tier 1 attraction before using the new Lightning Lane Plus system. So you got to choose between Slinky, Tower, Rock and Roller, and I think Mickey and Minnie's are all tier 1. So that's a tough choice. So you either have to go to Rise, or I would think you would either want to go to Rise or to one of those 4 tier 1 attractions.
Yeah.
So what about you, Kevin?
So like Gene, I would want to go to Rise, but what I would probably do is rope drop Slinky and get a Lightning Lane for Rise. So I would do Slinky and then make a beeline to Smuggler's Run so I could ride that, and then hopefully be early enough, get an early enough queue to get in to Rise right after, then do Star Tours. But I would, because Slinky is one that if you don't get lucky enough to get that on your, and I'm not as familiar with the new system. I'm still on Genie Plus in my mind, but if you're not lucky enough to get Slinky, you don't want to wait in that line. The sun will absolutely cook you alive. So I would definitely go for that just to get that ride in, because that's one of my must-dos, as well as Rise, but I feel like I could still get Rise through a Lightning Lane.
Yeah. The good thing about a Lightning Lane Plus is that even if it goes down, you're going to be able to go back and ride it again. Eventually, it's going to come back up, right? So that's why I always say I'm going to try to ride it twice, and that was our approach for Springtime Surprise. We rode it the first time. We had a Lightning Lane. It went down, and then we were like, and it was down for a considerable amount of time when we were supposed to go back and ride it. And they just took that Lightning Lane and converted it to another park the next day. So we're able to do the same thing with the e-attraction at the next park.
Oh, that's nice.
So you just go and you kind of talk to them, right? It's like, look, I'm running a race. I'm not going to be here. I'm leaving. If you're not running a race, just say, hey, look, I've been in line at, Slinky Dog. I've been rotisserie because it's so hot. You're gonna be like a rotisserie chicken at that bar spinning around. so and they'll move it for you. Just be nice to the cast member, right? That's the thing. Yeah. Niceness gets you a whole lot.
It really does.
So my answer is pretty much the same as all of you. I almost always go to Rise first, and we have been lucky enough that we have had success with that. But Kevin, I'm kind of thinking along your lines now that with the new Lightning Lane system, the new tiered system, if you're not lucky enough to get that, and the good thing is now it's not a 7 a.m. decision. Now you get to book it 7 days in advance. If you're staying on property, you get to book that Lightning Lane. So I guess you'll know right away if you got it or not. So I guess then I'll know, like if we didn't get Slinky, I'm probably going to go do Slinky and then cough up the money for Rise, because apparently some of the research I was doing for this episode, I guess Rise is notorious for having one of those delayed openings, as they call them. So so I think Slinky may be a good idea. Yeah.
Delayed openings.
I mean, Kylo's got to have his muffin first, right, before they get going.
That's right.
You get that. Look, stormtroopers and the resistance in the back. Having a bagel before.
Yeah, they got to have a breakfast bagel.
Yeah.
Up in the lounge, the secret lounge.
So that's what they're doing before they go and said,
Yeah.
Before they start being enemies for the rest of the day.
Yep.
All right, so we've covered Hollywood Studios. Let's go to an easy park. Let's talk about Animal Kingdom. So Kevin, going to Animal Kingdom. Now here at Animal Kingdom, the problem with Animal Kingdom is they always open early. And I mean early.
Super early.
The rest of the parks are opening at 8:30. Animal Kingdom's like, hey, the animals are awake at 7 a.m. Let's open at 7 a.m. So that's one where you need to make sure you set your phone alarm. You need to call the front desk and ask them to call you for a wake-up call. And maybe you need to have like 3 other alarms set, because that's an early morning. So we're in Animal Kingdom. Where are you going first?
So I'm making a beeline for the safari, because that's when animals, another thing with the heat, trying to knock that out before the animals get cooked like rotisserie chickens like they do at Slinky Dog. I want to make sure that I get to see them, because in the morning time, I've grown up, enjoying wildlife and stuff growing up. And, the best time to go watch, any kind of wildlife is early in the morning. That's when they get up. That's when they move around. That's when they're the most active. And you're going to see some really cool stuff, I think, as the animals kind of wake up and start their day. They're going to start eating, stuff like that. So that's what I'm doing. I'm going straight to the safari.
That's a good idea. All right, Gene, you're going to Animal Kingdom.
So I was going to say something else, but I'm going to do what Kevin's doing, because I think that's a great idea. I love the safari. He makes a great point. And so I was going to say, of course, my very favorite thing about Animal Kingdom, besides the animals, of course, is is the Yeti ride, you know. I mean, and so that's where I'm making a beeline. That and then Avatar, and I'm gonna Safari first, and then I'll do those 2 other rides. How about that?
That's perfect.
We'll be booking it. I'll have Amelia Bell and Christy running. You know. No,
Right.
Amelia Bell might be with me. Christy will still be asleep.
Lonnie G, where are you going in Animal Kingdom?
Well, you probably think I'm going to Dinosaur, but I'll be the only one there. Right?
It's going to be closed. It's going to be closed.
I'll be the only one there, right? So
Yeah.
I am, unlike Kevin and Gene, I'm, as they're walking toward it, I'm just gonna venture off to the right, and I'm gonna go to Flight of Passage. Why? Because when you get there early in the morning, still you get to go through the queue, and even if you have a Lightning Lane Plus, you don't get to go through the queue. The queue for Avatar for Flight of Passage is so good. I really like the queue, so I'm going there. They'll funnel us all through that queue. I get to see everything. I get to see the Avatar, life-size Avatar. I get to see the lab and all that kind of good stuff. You don't get to see that with the Lightning Lane Plus. So for me, Flight of Passage, and then you can leave from there. And usually the line is not long. You can go right next door and ride the little boat ride there as well and see the shaman. Right. So that's my 2. I'm going to knock out Flight of Passage and all of Avatar Land.
Good choice.
Mhm.
Lonnie, I'm going to follow you and the rest of the humanity and go to Flight of Passage because I don't have to pay for it later. I am cheap and rather spend my money on a nice adult beverage later. So I'm going to Flight of Passage. That line can be absolutely ridiculous in the morning, though, just so you know. So that is you better get there early and you better walk with a purpose and head straight over to Pandora because it can be a little nuts. But I also like the queue, and I also like it's pretty cool still at that time, and you're indoor for a lot of it, so it's a lovely queue. But unlike you, I'm not going to go to Na'vi. I'm going to leave there and hustle over to my
Dinosaur?
because Dinosaur is going to be close. I'm going to hustle over and head on over to Everest and go spend some time with the Yeti. Try to beat the crowds over there, and hopefully that works. Last time we went from Flight of Passage and we went to the Safari, which was awesome because that line was hardly anyone. So that was a good strategy last time. But I think I'm going to skip over the Safari and go straight over and spend some time with my man at the Yeti. So
let me give you a tip as well. If you're going to Flight of Passage, and Jody mentioned it, before they start letting you in, there's going to be a long line of people. Do not let that deter you because what you'll find is that queue is very long. So once they let people in, because they'll get there and they'll hold you there, and you'll be like, no, it's going to be too long. It won't, because if you wait, it will jump up to 120 minutes in no time flat, right? But if you're in that first hour or so, you're going to get in there pretty quick.
Yeah.
Just trust it, and just know that queue is going to move very fast.
It's going to look really scary, though.
It is. For the uninitiated, they'll be shy about it. But if you know it, you're going to get in there quick. Just deal with it.
We did it during COVID restrictions when you were still doing the 6 feet, apart. Oh my gosh, that line, we were way past the Lion King. I mean, we were so far back because of all the social distancing spacing. It was crazy. So anyway.
You're in line next to a tumble monkey.
Yeah.
That's how far you are.
They were there getting their, morning stretches in. I'm like, hey, how you doing? It's first shows in 3 hours, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So we've talked about Hollywood Studios. We have talked about Animal Kingdom. Now let's talk about Epcot. So who went first last time? I don't remember.
I did.
Okay. So Lonnie, where are you going to Epcot?
Ooh, that's a good one. I'm going to head to Remy, right? Ratatouille. That's where I'm going. I want to ride that one first. And right after that one, I'm going to hustle. Now, it's the opposite side of the park, but I'm going to hustle over to Frozen because I know what you're saying. It's Frozen, but I actually really do like that ride. So I'm going to hustle over there. And another reason why to do Frozen first is before the boat gets too wet for people stepping in and out of it. So you'll be able to kind of get that one and knock those 2 out. And then, of course, you'll have a queue for Guardians. You can do Guardians right after that. So I'm doing I'm doing Remy Ratatouille Adventure first.
Hey, enjoy Frozen while you can until they shut it down to open up Hello There a Kenobi musical.
Hey, I'm all about that.
All right.
Until that time, I'm gonna, head on to Frozen.
All right, Gene. So what are you doing when you're going to Epcot at first thing in the morning, rope dropping?
Probably heading straight to Pirates of the Caribbean. Ha, just joking. I know Pirates of the Caribbean's not at that park. I am gonna go to. You caught me off guard a little bit. I'm probably first gonna go get a cronut and some ice cream for breakfast. Rope drop that. I know y'all warned against all that, but that and then Guardian and no, actually probably what I'll do is Guardians first.
That's an interesting strategy, Cotton. We'll see how that works out.
Wait, did we say Epcot? That's not right.
Yeah,
Probably
but
not.
it's right. Guardians is there. It's just how you ride Guardians.
But yeah, right. You have to get you're right. Okay. So I thought we were okay.
But no,
Okay.
I mean,
Never mind.
you're pretty cool. You can probably
mind.
talk yourself into it.
Well,
Just tell them you
probably
didn't know.
not. See, even a Disney expert like myself sometimes gets a little confused about. I haven't been in a while. I forgot.
Hey, they're always changing the rules, man. It's hard to keep
And
up.
they are changing the rules. This is true. Thanks for defending me. I'm probably just gonna because on this trip I'll probably be along. I'll be with Lonnie, so I'm just gonna follow him to one of you guys. I'm gonna follow you wherever you're going because I have no idea at this point.
That's a wise move. We're going over that at Remy because it will go down there.
Because it'll be broken. I mean, if it's open at that point, it'll be broken later on. I don't know how many times I've been. I've walked. Well, maybe in a little bit. Well, maybe. Yeah, no. I'll go ride something else.
All right, Kevin.
Okay, I'm definitely going to follow Lonnie and Gene, and I'm going to do Remy and Frozen. But make sure when you do that, though, that you don't rope drop at the front of the park. Rope drop at the back of the park. Over in I guess it's the European Gateway or the Eastern Gateway. I'm not sure what that's called, but it's where you can get off at the
South America.
Yeah, it's
South America.
You actually come in through France.
The Skyliner.
Skyliner lets you off right there. So
right.
Great point, Kevin.
Yep.
Because you don't want to have to walk way through the front and then go way around the World Showcase to get.
That's a long walk.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it with a stroller to Frozen, and it was miserable. We were walking, in quotations, as fast as we could walk. And I think the wheels almost came off on the stroller. I don't think strollers are meant to go that fast.
So, Kevin, you actually took my answer was going to be, it depends on where I'm staying, what I'm going to rope drop first. Because if I'm staying at Riv or over at Gene's favorite properties, which are on Crescent Lake, I'm probably going to rope drop Remy first. But if I'm coming from a bus or a monorail resort, then I may go rope drop Test Track first. Because that line can get super, super long. Although I know Test Track's down for refurbishment right now. But I'm probably going to do something at the front of the park as opposed to trying to make my way to the back of the park that early in the morning. I like the Frozen ride, but my boys do not. So if it's all four of us, then, I'm probably waiting till later in the evening and just riding that with Lindsay anyway. So, but I agree. I think Epcot's a really interesting one because it depends on where you're staying and how you're walking into the park.
And a tip on that, if you say, oh man, I meant to stay, or, I really want to rope drop Remy, but I'm staying at Coronado Springs. So it's a bus resort. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to Uber over to the boardwalk and go in on that side.
Yeah. And if they don't let you into the boardwalk, Uber over to Swan and Dolphin because they'll let you in there. Sometimes the boardwalk and stuff, they won't let you in unless you have a reservation someplace. So
yeah, okay.
It dropped off at the Swan and Dolphin and they'll let you in.
Mm-hmm. Good point. And it's not that much further to walk.
No. All right. So, Gene, what park do we have left?
Magic Kingdom.
Okay. So you want to lead us off?
Sure. I am. No, I don't want to lead us off. I don't.
Okay. Kevin, would you like to lead us off for Magic Kingdom?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick probably the one that most people will pick, and I'm going to Seven Dwarfs. I know that one's going to be filled up super fast, but it's one that I really enjoy and that my kids love. And it's right there in the close to a bunch of other things. So I feel like if I could get that knocked out early, then there's a bunch of rides around it that my kids love that we could knock out right after and take a break right after and have a nice breakfast somewhere. But yeah, I'm gonna say Seven Dwarfs
Mhm.
because the wait on that one is just so long during the day, and you don't
Yeah,
want to be
also-
another reason being stuck in the sun.
Mhm.
Again, I mean, there's not a whole lot of places to be out of the sun there either. So
And that's another paid one, So if you
right,
get that one done first thing in the morning, you don't
saves you
have to
some
pay for
money.
it later. Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, Lonnie G, where are you going in Magic Kingdom?
Yeah, I'm going to try to outrun Kevin, and I'm going to get over there to do Seven Dwarfs as well, and from there, Haunted Mansion, and then Pirates. That's my
Yep.
3 I'm trying to get to right in that order. So
Those are the best. Those
straight there
exactly.
and make it happen. So yeah,
All right, Gene, you following the other two, or are you going on your own path?
I'm going on my own path. I'm going to Haunted Mansion.
I thought Gene was going to say he was going to People Mover.
I thought about that, but
The Astro Orbiter. He's going to
yeah,
drop
probably
Astro.
so. That'd be good.
So I know there's a lot of people who go straight to Peter Pan's Flight because that's
Mhm.
one also that gets a crazy long wait and crazy long queue. Go ahead.
Why?
I know.
I don't understand. Why? I don't know why.
It's
I
for
know
the
it's
kids,
iconic.
I'm sure.
I know it's iconic. I know it all. But I always say when I see people there, like, why?
So that you will hear a lot of people say that is the correct answer is go to Peter Pan's Flight. I'm joining the rest of you. I'm going to Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. I feel like if we don't rope drop that ride, then we don't end up riding it because the lines just get too incredibly long, and I don't want to pay for it.
Right.
Although I will say, we were talking about virtual queues, and sometimes those can mess up your rope dropping plans. So as much as I love to get early virtual queues for either Tron or Guardians, that can kind of mess up your rope drop strategy. So if you got an early queue, so this is what happened to us last time. We got an early queue to Tron, but it wasn't right when the park opened. So we're like, man, I don't think we're gonna make it through Seven Dwarfs Mine Train line. It's too long. So we actually rope dropped Space Mountain, oddly enough, because it was over by
Right
Tron.
there.
And we
Mhm.
thought by the time we get off Space, we're right by Tron, and then we can get our virtual queues probably going to open. So again, the parks that have the virtual queues could kind of mess with your rope dropping strategy if you have a queue that came in early. So something else to have to add to the mix of chaos. Yes. All right. So I think we've talked about the parks and what our choices are. And some of the advantages of getting up early. And again, it's not for everybody. I know some people like to sleep in. Some people, enjoy getting to the parks early. I actually heard an interesting stat. They said most people don't arrive to the parks until 10 a.m., which if you think about that, if you're getting there at 8 for an 8:30 opening, think of all that time that you have before the average guest arrives at 10 a.m. I mean, that's a pretty significant time. So I think it's worth it. We tend to rope trap almost every single morning, even when we're tired and we're up late the night before. I just think the advantage of doing it outweighs the gain of sleep. So any other thoughts that you all have about it?
No, I think you did a good job of leading us through that, Jody and Gene.
Yeah.
Hopefully, the listeners got a couple of tips they can use.
Absolutely.
Hope so.
All right, Lonnie G, you want to take us to our next portion of the show?
Yeah, next portion of the show is the part that everyone probably tunes in for, and that is the dad jokes. So, Kevin, can you crack us up?
I'll do my best. So this one's a little in line with what we were saying earlier about waiting in line for Slinky and some of those rides in the hot sun. So what did the pig say on a hot summer day?
Make him squeal?
I'm baking.
Oh, just like that one.
We just lost all of our animal lovers, all our PETA lovers. They're out. It was good though. Jody B, why don't you quack us up?
Sure, I'll try. So, why can't basketball players go on vacation?
I don't know
I
why.
don't know why.
Because they'll get called for traveling.
Nice. Mean Gene.
They I like a lot to do a lot of different things. I got some ADHD and some other things, and so it means I have a lot of hobbies. And when I took up poetry, they said I wouldn't be very good at it because I'm dyslexic, but I mean, like, I've made 2 vases, a cup, and I think I'm getting pretty good.
Oh man.
Yeah. Well, speaking of early mornings, last time I was at Disney, I woke up super early and I went to the park, and man, I was just walking around. It was dark, and I was like, man, I wonder what time the sun's gonna rise. But then it dawned on me.
No, that's it.
So thanks everybody for joining us tonight. You know what? We want to make sure we don't get ourselves in trouble. We got a letter from our legal team. So Gene, can you take us out?
Yes, sir. The previous podcast episode, Rope Dropping Walt Disney World, Benefits, Sacrifices, and Pro Tips, is brought to you by Disney with the Ducks. The opinions expressed by Jody, Kevin, Lonnie, and Gene are their own and not officially endorsed by any Disney attractions or character. Side effects of following our rope dropping advice may include sore feet, early morning grumpiness, increased caffeine consumption, and a newfound love for pre-dawn park adventures. While our hosts have years of Disney expertise, we cannot guarantee that you will experience the same level of magic, lack of sleep, or attraction efficiency. For those who prefer to sleep in, remember that the best part of rope dropping is bragging about it later. Consult your sleep specialist, fellow Disney enthusiasts, and understanding travel companions before attempting these high-energy strategies. Disney with the Ducks is not responsible for any magical overload, excessive churro or cronut consumption, or spontaneous Mickey ears purchases. Enjoy the podcast and happy rope dropping.
Nice. We're covered,
Love
right?
it.
We're
I think
covered.
we're good.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.
See you later.
Thank you, friends.
Man, that hat is awesome.
Thank you. I had it made.
Always watching.
Well,